Hey, this is Cindy Gould, welcoming you back to Create Your Victorious Life, and welcome to the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores for your iOS or Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate an amazing rate with an amazing comment, please. The app is totally free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, also on all smart, not dumb, smart TVs 2016 and forward. And today I am stoked because my guest is one of my good friends, Eric Stenlake. And let me just give you a little bit of blurb about him. I know, I'm so excited. He's been teaching, coaching, and mentoring kids, families, and educators all over North America since 1996. As a neuroencoding elite specialist, a brain health trainer, and senior consultant for Franklin Covey, Eric helps people move from where they are to better, to great, and to stinking magnificent. Eric's passion for personal development and organizational success guides others to maximize their potential human performance. Recently, I am honored to be in his presence because he is the chairperson for the Neuroencoding Institute's Youth and Education Committee, which is such a killer honor and the only choice, seriously. And he's also been chosen and invited to be on Venu Keller's Venu Inspires coaching team. And holy smokes, she's both of our mentor coach and a dear friend of mine and his. And so I'm stoked. You can find him on energeticlifenow.com or through venuinspires.com. And there you go, babe.
Thank you so much, Cindy. It's great to be back with you. This is amazing. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you. It's always a great time to hang out with Cindy, the magnificent Gould.
Love it. Thank you. Well, I'm thrilled that you're here, and I'm especially excited about this conversation. You and I both know we're both so passionate about our families, about other people's families, about their children, about being parents. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to hear just your take. You've been in this industry forever. You're an excellent, and I know this, father and husband, or husband, father, let's do it in the right order. And, and I know that even just from being around you, you are who you say you are. You show up, your energy precedes you before you come in a room. I love that. It does. And it does. It touches my heart as well. Yeah. So my question to you, as I have for all my guests, is what has it taken you to create your victorious life, and especially in the genre and in the lane that you're driving in?
Oh, Cindy, thank you. Thank you so much. Boy, what a big, broad, powerful, and narrow-focused question all at once. Like my head's ready to explode in just thinking back to the journey that I've been on in my life, right? Yeah. And, I think for me, there's been so many different stop and rest places on my journey of life, of which I sat down and go, the heck am I doing with myself? What do I want to do? What do I want to get? Where do I want to be? What do I foresee myself doing? And sitting there going, I have no idea. And so I get up and I just start moving forward. And I just keep going, and I'm just continuing to pick up little gold nuggets of learning along the way. And then somewhere something happens and I sit down again and I'm like, well, okay, now here I am in my life. And so I'm gonna almost drop a pin, right? We love doing that nowadays and with technology. Drop a pin of where you are. I'm right here. Here I am. It's like that map in the mall. Where are you? Here I am, right there. And I have this time to reflect and say, okay, what do I want out of my life? Where am I going? What do I want to do? I have no idea. Okay, let's just keep going. And I pick up and I start going again. And I've gone through that so many times in my life. And now that I'm at the place where I am, it's so much fun, Cindy, because I can go like this and I can look back and I go, wow, look at all that back there.
Right.
And then I pull it all forward and I have it right here in front of me. And I go, wow, now I understand why I did and went through all that I did, and dropping all of those pins along the way and stopping to sit down and go, wow, that was good that happened. That was horrible that happened. And understanding and learning from that to really bring this out and say, okay, what am I going to do with all of this knowledge, all of this experience, all of what I learned? Do I just want to sit on the couch, work myself a nice little butt groove and sit there and do nothing with that groove? Or do I want to get up and, as Joseph McClendon says, shake that ass and do something with the knowledge and the learning that I've experienced over the years? And so that's really the place I've been in. So yes, education, teaching middle school and high school and adult ed, getting into those spaces, being an entrepreneur and having a company where we did brain training, testing and development with kids as young as 3 on the autistic spectrum to senior citizens, trying to improve working active memory, getting into the coaching space and into the presentation space with Franklin Covey, being able to go and work with educators in 33 different states in the US, the 2 Western provinces of Canada, being able to have just this enormous opportunity that keeps presenting more and more ways for me to take what I've learned, all those pin drops in my journey, to say, how do I use this? How do I take what I've learned and lived to give that information to others? How do I do that? What space is this opening up, this opportunity to create from that? And so I know that's a long answer to, like, how are you living your victorious life? I feel that honestly, at 35, I mean, at 53, I get that backwards sometimes.
No.
I now just feel like I'm just starting to live. I mean, truly, because it's like, I mean, my kids ask me, well, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I said, don't worry about it. Just keep going. You don't have to decide now, not because I haven't figured it out too late. And do we ever figure it out completely all together in our lives? I mean, really, when you think about it, things keep changing. Things keep coming into our lives, things that we can influence, that influence us. And then we just are looking for, how do I show up and be present in those opportunity moments? And that's what's key, because then I can take that learning and say, bam, let's pin drop this moment. Let's see what we can do in this space in the here and now.
Yeah. And then you can reflect. You look back on that pin drop. You know, you look back right on that pin drop, and it's like so easy. Like, oh my gosh, I remember that. Now that I can use here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
One of I love what you said in the very beginning. Stop and rest.
Yeah.
Stop and rest. A lot of times, especially in this go, 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 go world that we're in, right? Everything is at the speed of sound. Like you and I, I'm just a wee bit older than you. And what's so cool though, is that you and I, I'm sure you remember the reel to reels, and then 8 tracks and cassettes. And remember, like, the miracle of fax machines and those kinds of things, because everything was about getting it there faster.
Yeah.
And now, even while we're on right now on this call, would say, hey, you know,
Yep.
we often take the stop and rest moments. And I believe that those moments are critical to stacking into creating your victory, or being victorious in every area of your life. You need to stop, rest, reflect, and do those things. Like, what have I learned so far? What can I do with this? You know, how can I bring this into this situation or that situation? A lot of times when things happen, I know you mentioned good and horrible are the words you used. And yes, and yeah, and I'm right there with you. There have been some amazing, fantastic, spectacular. Like, whoa, wait, how did that happen? Like, how did I pull that one off? Right. And then there's been these other horrible moments like, what the heck? How did that happen? And then when you take, I know for me, and I'm fairly certain I can say this with confidence about you, is that we both take extreme ownership for those moments. We're good, bad, or ugly, right?
Yeah.
And then it makes it easier to mitigate those from happening again. Or the other pieces, and to build again, like, okay, stopped, rested. And what do you do at a rest stop, right? You stop, you rest, you do all the little things, you grab your coffee, you do whatever you're going to do, you catch your breath, and then you keep going, as you said.
Yeah. I mean, you look back. I look back in the day, like when we were going to go to a rest stop, if you will, as a family. That was an exciting experience because my father would pull the station wagon over. We'd pull the tailgate down. My mother would pull out the picnic lunch, right? And we'd all be outside. And you didn't go to fast food. You didn't do any of that stuff. We had a picnic lunch, right? And so we enjoyed it. We looked around, and then my father's like, "Okay, let's go. Get back in the car. Let's keep going." And it's just like that image kind of just sits with me in life, if you will, right? When you pull over and take a rest, rejuvenate yourself, feed your soul, feed your body, understand why you're there, understand where you need to go, and then get back on the road.
Yes. And you know what? You just reminded me. I know my mom's watching this, and we would get so stoked because we knew all the yummy stuff she made for our lunches, for our snacks, and one trip we went with my mom, and we drove actually, and there were 6 of us kids on this trip in a VW bus, in those catch at. And at the time when you don't ditch out on school and do your homework, but we did. My parents pulled us out of school, and we drove from Utah all the way through Central America. And we hit like many of the archaeological digs in like Palenque in Mexico, and in Guatemala, and in Honduras. And then, we stopped there and stayed with friends, and my parents went to Panama. And, it was the coolest thing. And every place we stopped, we were stoked with what we were going to get to eat. Like you said, it was like an exciting, and then of course you have to go on a bio break, and you do all these little things that you're doing. But back then, of course, rest areas were really fun, and they were safe, and there were all those things. And so while we're talking, what comes up to me as well is, I know you're busy, and you have a family, and your wife is busy, and you guys are both teaching and training and empowering other families and kiddos. What kind of stop and rests do you build into your day, into your week, into your family gathering during the week? What do you do that you could teach us that might be a benefit?
Yeah, great question. I for me, and I think it's probably general in life, I think we can say, is that in that journey of learning that we go on, there's certain things that we do that are beneficial to us in some way, shape, or form. And when we experience that, and we experience that dopamine release, and it feels good, and we understand the power and the purpose and the why behind it, and then we want to do it again, and we want to make those things habitual, because we know that when we do this over and over again, the results that we get are going to keep us aligned on that path. And so really out of Dr. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which I've been teaching and training now for 13 years, you go into habit number 7, which is sharpening the saw, taking care of yourself. And the four elements of that is the body, the heart, the mind, and the spirit. And I really, over the years, have taken the body, heart, mind, and spirit into breaking it down for me. And so you look at the body. Let's take that one. Your nutrition, your rest, your stress management, your exercise routine. What are you doing for your body? Are you taking in nutrients that's Are you taking in nutrients that's going to help feed your body, feed your soul?
Yes.
Or are you, doing anything of which is hurting you?
Right.
Right. And depending upon where people are on that journey is where we find ourselves in this coaching environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if I am really aware of what I'm feeding my body and the purpose behind that, I've gone and studied different avenues with that. And so I know what I'm eating that is relatable and powerful for my body type.
Right.
And so that's the food that I'm putting in. Now, that doesn't mean I always deprive myself of foods, but I am purposeful and intentional about what I do. I'm
Mm.
purposeful and intentional about working out. Why? Because it makes me feel good, right? I like how it makes me feel. It's that dopamine release. And when I start feeling sluggish and tired and slow and unenergized, I stop and now here's where I rest, right? And I get into reflection, say, why am I feeling this way? I haven't exercised in 2 days. I've been so busy. I
Mm-hmm.
need to get out in the garage. I need to go work out and I need to get on the treadmill and run.
So
And
good.
so I want to keep myself rejuvenated with that.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the brain. What am I doing within the brain? What is my new learning? What is the avenues that I'm tapping into, the things that challenge my brain, that challenge my thinking, my learning, my abilities of the brain. You and I, we're both continuously studying and learning within the Neuroencoding Institute and
Yes.
Amen University
Yes.
as we are honing and continuing to build on the skills that we have within the coaching and presentation world.
Yes.
And so we're in that the heart space, right? What am I doing that's feeding my soul,
Yes.
right? And so we see that in acts of kindness, in love that we can give to others, in helping others. How do we do that for ourselves?
Yes.
Right? We we look we do this exercise with Joseph, which I love, and I just demonstrated this live like 2 weeks ago. I was with a school in Ventura, California,
Cool.
and there happened to be a mirror in the room, and I'm talking to them about, when's the last time you stood in front of the mirror and told yourself that you loved yourself? And they're
Yes.
all laughing like, dude, you're nuts. And I happened to just turn around, there was a mirror, and I start talking to myself in the mirror. They were busting up laughing until they understood why. And then
Right.
they're like, okay. And they actually went home and did it that night and came back and shared that experience. Right.
Yeah.
It was awesome. You look at body, heart, mind, and spirit. You look at the spirit. This is for you and I. This is where we get into our prayer, our meditation, our praise and worship.
Yeah.
Things of that foundational thing that is within that. There's a lot of other things. Nature, going out and taking off my shoes and socks and getting grounded to nature,
Yes.
right? And getting into that and understanding it. I have been reading this book here. Peace is every step, and I absolutely
Ooh.
love this one. And this was recommended to me by another coach. Peace is every step, the path of mindfulness in everyday life. Um,
Mm.
and I love that one. And what am I doing in all of those areas? And of course, I tie all of this back to that roadmap journey and the learning and all the pin drops are along the way. And I take all of that and then put that into my plan of action that
Mm.
I'm going to do daily and weekly that is going to keep me moving in a direction that I want towards my goals and my dreams and the things that I desire. And
Mm.
so for anybody that's watching out there or going to, live with us today or in the future, as you guys are listening to this and hearing this is what we coach on. We coach on how do we take care of ourselves? How do we get into those spaces that we are understanding what we're doing and the why behind it? And
Yep.
that we're creating intention to do these things because it's going to provide for us powerful results of action that are going to help us be the best versions that we can be.
100%. Such a beautiful answer. You gave me so many nuggets. And yes, I'm taking notes. That's why you see me looking down. I mean,
I knew.
I know I have such a privilege of being like you because you have a show and we get to have these beautiful guests on and we get fed, right? From just
Yep.
being here. And so
Yep.
one of the things that I do when I'm even at the very beginning in a discovery call with somebody and no matter what, I'm stuck, my life sucks, there's this, there's that, whatever it is, the very first thing I hone in on is their water and nutrition and are they moving their body.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the first three things. Like, okay, let's check in with that. Those are easy check off. No, I'm not doing that. I sit on the couch. I'm Netflix. I go to work. I come home. I eat on the couch. La, la, la. Easy things to fix. And you will see instant changes with people just by making those small changes. Now, a couple other things you said, though, peace is a big deal to me.
Mm-hmm.
And peace is your power, no matter what. People ruffle your feathers, things, road rage, whatever it is. Peace is your power. That is where when you are peaceful, you can hear. When you are peaceful, you can respond in a peaceful manner that's going to help you to stay intentional, right? The way, and to give attention to the right things instead of to the hello, I'm freaked out. Like, it's funny. I used to joke around and say, we actually have 11 commandments, not 10. The 11th commandment is thou shalt not freak. Because the moment that thou freaketh, thou shalt surely die. And that's
right.
Because everything happens when you're freaking out. Your words, you speak the wrong things, you focus on the wrong things. But here's something really cool. So I have a friend who's in my group coaching that I have a group coaching class, and her name is Jillian. She's fabulous, and she's a great team leader. She works for a cellular phone company, and she's a manager there. And what's cool is, so in our first thing, we did the mirror exercise, right? In our first group. Mm-hmm. So she took it to her next team lead meeting. She had be in pairs. It was the coolest way I've ever heard this. And they were in pairs face to face. And instead of having a mirror, that other person was the mirror. Yeah. And so they spoke their I am statements there to that person. And the reflected person, that other person, said back to them, yes, you are. Yes, you are. So powerful. I was like, ooh, goosebumps. I love hearing how people take these things and don't just apply them to their lives, because you and I are doing this because it's to create legacy lives for people and to be able to take their lives and to stay really in alignment with their assignment and to walk out what God purposed them to do. What you're doing. And that is, like, to me, the most important thing. That's what gets me up in the morning is, okay, who do I get to be a blessing to today? Who gets to be blessing me back by their presence, just even like right now, which is what you're doing. Where's my connections? Who do I get to connect with today and encourage, right? And just to help everybody stay on track with what they came here to do, which is pretty exciting to me, right? I mean, you think about it, like you get to go in classrooms with kiddos that, oh my goodness, kids nowadays, the things we dealt with when we were young and we thought the sky was falling is nothing compared to what our children, and with the youth of today, even hear or see on the internet. Or, I mean, kids, they go to school concerned about shootings and things, and I was just concerned about like one of the kids spitting his chew in the hallway. I mean, it wasn't like, right?
Yeah.
And how does that like affect, because you've been doing this since 96, teaching 7 habits for 13 years. How does that affect you now in a classroom? Because I know recently you've done a few like 4-day events at high schools, that kind of thing, which you've shared with me, versus even 10 years ago. Like how have you had to transition to be able to bring that word to the kids?
Yeah, great question. I'm excited for this generation that's coming because they are hungry for change. They are hungry for good things to happen. They are asking for schools, districts, teachers to give them more. Don't just teach me content. Don't just teach me theory. Tell me how to life apply what I'm using and why. Give me something outside of the box of education. And this is where we're coming in to say, listen, we've got lots of tools. We've got help that we can give you to navigate through, all these different avenues of issues that kids are having these days, whether it's stress, anxiety, depression, all the thieves of our dreams. Like talking to kids that are just, they don't want to get up in the day. They don't want to get out of the house. A lot of them, parents are coming to me saying, listen, you gotta help my kid. Really, what's going on with your kid? Well, they're not doing anything with their life. They're just staying in their room. I recently had a dad tell me that he's like, man, my kid's moving slower than frozen molasses. And I'm and I'm laughing. I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean by that? And he's like, he just doesn't do anything with his life. I don't know what's going to happen to him. When I was his age, blah, 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 blah. And I said, wow, that sounds like you really had things together when you were his age. Boy, it's a different time now for sure. So why don't you do me a favor here? Why don't you write me a list here of all the things that you would like your son to be doing? And then I went to the son and I said, well, okay, so tell me what you do with your life. And he makes a list twice as long as what dad's saying. And then I encourage dad and son to come together and have a conversation about what they want. Right? Because I think right now there's a huge disconnect between adults and kids. And the gap is very, very wide. Now, listen, it was when we were kids too, right? I mean, we thought our parents were Lulu, right? Because of maybe some of the things that they, wanted us to do or didn't want us to do, right? And that's not going to change. But I think there's bigger things here. And I think, parents, man, I wish we were in a room where I could see all your thumbnails. And I always say, raise your hand if you're really concerned about your kids right now. Raise your hand if you're concerned about your kids' futures. Right. And I think we are more so now because we don't know the avenue or direction that the kids are going. Right. And because we're focusing on that, we're missing all of this open opportunity and perspective that's presented right out there in front of them. Yeah. And so when this kid and this dad sat down and started having a conversation, dad realized, wow, he is doing a lot, because the kid was researching, the kid was pulling up programs and things that he was looking at for the future that dad had no idea. Dad just sees him in his room playing video games and thinks that, he's a slacker. Right. And so, looking at the kids and just saying, hey, what do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go? Right? I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, let's begin exploring some of the opportunity that's out there.
Right. Right. Well, then what brings them joy? What makes them happy? I mean, I look at the kids now, and one of the things that really saddens me and concerns me is I was talking with one of my granddaughters, and she just graduated from high school. And, we were just talking about, and her sister, one of her older sisters, and just going to the grocery store, and they're afraid of the whole trafficking thing and all the other things that go along with it. And it's like, holy smokes, when you just think back to when we were kids and we just wanted to get into college or, land the good job or make those choices, not just make it to my car safely, not just, and I think about that extra anxiety. And it's like a current, right? And then, of course, as you alluded to earlier, because they've got this vast thing in front of them, and where our focus goes, our energy follows. So to keep them focused on their lives and on creating that joy and that beauty, and each of them having a real purpose, not just there's that scripture that says, that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And it's steal your identity, destroy your purpose, distract you. He doesn't have to literally kill you, just got to distract you. Let's keep your eyes over here instead of focusing on where you're going. And what would you say, because you've got vast years of wisdom working with kiddos, how do you keep them focused even in a classroom? Like, you get these kids that come in and they're, laughing at the mirror thing. And then you've got them like eating out of your hands by the time the 4 days is over. What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's there's so many activities that we do, right? And I get them into action. And like with the identity statements, the I am statements, and different things of that nature, we do all kinds of activities of exploration of self, exploration of spirit, exploration of heart. And we help them to begin to see their direction come into focus, right? Because it's so far off for some of these kids that they don't see how they're going to get there because it's so far away. And so by beginning to bring into clarity some of these questions for them, and then to give them tools that are going to help them stay consistent with that,
right?
All of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I can do this. I will be able to do this. And we begin to shift how they think and feel about what's going on, right? And that action, that consistent doing of action, get them into an accountability partner situation of which they have support.
Yeah.
Because they're going to rely and trust on their friends more than they're going to go to their parents, more than likely right now, right?
Right.
Kids, I think, but then again, kids have been doing that for, probably they don't have time.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I'd much rather go and talk to my friends about what's going on than I would my parents.
Sure.
And so being able to help them, really create that cadence of accountability.
Yeah. I like that. The cadence of accountability. That's cool because there's a frequency and a rhythm to it. Right. Yeah. And I love that. So when you're talking about vision and being able to see with that clarity, it reminds me, there's so many stories and, I call vision boards gratitude boards, meaning I see them as I'm grateful and thankful that this is already done. And because it's already not just in my vision, it's locked and loaded in my cells. Now, what I think of, and I think it was in 93, a little girl, was like 6 or 9 at the time, sees this picture of Selena, the singer, and holding her Grammy, takes the picture out and sticks it on her vision board. And, every day she's like, eat, sleeping, following, all the things that happen. And that was Katy Perry.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think of even like Steve Harvey, as probably this story. And what is he, like a little boy? And the teacher in school, tells everybody, write down what you want to be, and then calls them up. And he says he had seen somebody make people laugh on TV. He's like, that's what I'm going to do. And he's a little boy. And he gets in front of the class and he says that. And his teacher basically berates him and says, has anybody in your family been on TV? Well, do you know anybody that's done that? Well, you better pick something else, child. So, and so he goes home and he tells his father, and his father, in his immaculate wisdom, said, you look at that picture, or that you read those words every day, and you pray out loud and you thank God that that's happened in your life. And now look at him. He literally is on TV every day making people laugh.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of those rest and stops. He had a lot of those bumps, right?
Yeah. He went through that period of where he was homeless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And down to the last few dollars to his name. And I love his story. It's so powerful. And then was able to, get into the industry and turn his life around. Yes. And one thing too, Cindy, that I think, and listeners out there, especially for us that are parents, can I ask us all to really be aware that when kids, not just our own kids, but kids in general, when they come and they have ideas and they say, this is what I'm thinking about, I think I want to do that, whether or not you believe that they can or can't, cross that off the list. Right. Take that word can't, take the word just, take the word buts and all that, cross all those words and pull them out of your vocabulary.
Yes.
And don't focus on you, focus on them and ask them what needs to happen for them to achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
You might already know it's not going to work, but they might surprise the heck out of you.
Amen.
Right.
Yes.
And so, and I say that from this premise here. My guidance counselor in high school told me not to go to college. I was not college material, that I would waste my time. I would waste my money. I would never graduate college.
Wow.
Right. Because her opinion, her narrative of me, I was not going to stop there. I already knew I was on that road. I could see future focused what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at these pin drops along the way, even that early of an age, going, no, that's the direction I'm going. I'm not going to let somebody derail me from that in life.
Yes.
Now you fast forward and you go into adults and we're saying, okay, you know, as we're going into coaching and we're going into teaching and presenting of topics and things like this, you know, adults have a much harder time with change than kids do. Because we are so set in our ways and we're dragging the baggage of life with us.
Yeah.
And so if I may, I'd love to read. Do I have time to read a little excerpt?
Yes. Yes, please.
This is out of an amazing book by our fearless leader, Dr. Joseph McClendon III, Get Happy Now. And I read this. I've read this to so many groups of teachers over the years because I absolutely love this. This is out of chapter 4, The Truth About Change. Thinking about change can be hard if you let it. Now, let me go into this and read this. Inside of you is a warrior ready to conquer the world. You were wired for happiness, adventure, and abundance. Those attributes were embedded into your soul from birth. From the moment you burst forth out of the womb, you didn't enter the world with a whimper. You entered it bold and defiant. But along the way, you might have been unconsciously rewired. Your great and empowering experiences, relationships, discoveries, triumphs, breakthroughs, and celebrations may have been impacted the way you think about what is possible for your life. Your bad experiences, relationships, struggles, defeats, tragedies, encounters with bullies or classmates, or even work obstacles may have impacted the way you think about what's not possible in your life. You may have lowered your expectations. You may have bought into lies that ultimate extreme full-on happiness just isn't possible. How many times, people, have we gotten to a situation in our life and we think that's just not possible?
Right.
But yet it's something that we're passionate about. Don't stop. Figure out what you need to do to keep moving forward.
Right.
If you need to rest and refocus and realign and refresh, do it. And then get back moving. And that's the best thing that you can do for yourself.
So much. I love that. And I love that book. I love Joseph's. I mean, thank you for reading that. You know, when you were talking about what not to say, not to squelch, because when people do that with the kiddos, you know, and with our youth, it's really from their belief system. You're really saying, I can't do that. So therefore, I don't believe you can do that. And who are we to impose that? Like, who are we to ever say you can't do that? Our job, I believe, as people is to cheer them on. Okay, great. And to be curious. Okay, let's get curious. Like you said, like I would say, how are we going to do that? What do you need? What do you need to be done? Let's just say, okay, so it's, you know, whatever, December 31st, 2026. And you've done all of this.
Yep.
How did you do it? How did you get there? What did you need? What were the resources? What did your team look like? Who were they? You know, what kinds of technology did you need? What kind of money did you need? What kind of time resources? Where did you go? Was it something that you could do right in California, Washington, Utah? Where did you go to do this? Or did you have to, you know, get a team from all over the world? what did you need to do that? And how fun, you know how fun that is to do that? You do know, I mean, who am I asking? I'm talking to the master. How fun it is to do with kids, because you're just like, when you literally just take that lock off and allow them to be who they are, right? And remind them of whose they are, and that they were purposed with everything inside of them already there. All they have to do is maybe open that extra book, read those extra things, attend that college, do whatever they need to do, align with the right people, right? And starting with you as their coach, or, you know, you coaching their parents and helping their parents to fuel their fires that way. But all of those things happen when we stop allowing, what I would say, when we stop tripping over our own traumas. When you mentioned the Samsonite luggage that you drag with you like a ball and chain everywhere, like, oh, you know, when we act like it's like our little precious little, you know, right? And it's like, ditch it, leave it at the Goodwill. Let somebody else have it. You just keep go right. Heave ho. I agree. You know, when we do that, then we give our children permission. Whatever I saw, Brian, what's the CEO of Prove It? What's his last name? Please forgive me.
Oh my gosh, you're Brian Underwood.
Thank you. I was thinking Underwood, and of course I think of the wrestler because of my son's The Undertaker. But Brian Underwood, in the post that he made today, which you probably saw, was about the best example you're going to be for your children, and the biggest permission you're ever going to be for your children to be able to do, at what I would say in my words, stay in alignment with their assignment and do what God purposed them to do, is to absolutely go all out and live your dreams. Do everything, walk out that vision that God gave you. Let your children watch you do it. And my comment to that was, well, golly, I mean, it's like saying, if you don't do that, it's like saying, pick up your room, and they walk into your room and they have to dodge the piles of clothes and whatever. Or you're saying, be kind and give and be loving, and all they see is you being grumpy and combative at home and, you know, stressed out, you know. Well, there's no different with that than not fulfilling your own dreams and walking out and moving heaven and earth to make it happen, right? So what would you say to parents, in my albeit humble opinion? I feel that we should have our children's buy-ins with your dreams. Like, paint that vision when you're going to work or you're traveling, because you travel a bit. Paint the vision of, this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it. And let your children know that I'm doing this, I am doing this family, and this is who I am, and this is what I'm purposed to do. How important do you think it is to have conversations like that with your children?
Oh, it's huge. And it's so funny, because when I am going and giving the presentations and traveling around, there's always someone that says the dirty B word. And you just said it a minute ago. And frankly, Cindy, I'm shocked. The dirty B word. You ready for it? Buy-in.
Got it.
If I'm asking my kids to buy into me, I am trying to sell them something.
Got it. That's great.
I want them to embrace the change, engage it in their life in a deep and meaningful way that's going to create lasting change for them.
I love that.
So when my kids come to me and say, you know, hey, Dad, and by the way, they pull stuff out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, sweet baby Jesus, where did they come up with that this time? But I'm gonna support them, and this is where parents are like, no, you can't do that, you can't do that, and here's why: because it's not gonna work for you. It's not saying it's not gonna work for the kid.
Right.
I say, listen, the only time that I'm going to step in and interject is if your safety, mental, physical, or emotional safety, is in jeopardy.
Yeah.
I hope you go out and fail today.
Yes.
And they're like, what? Go fail. Go learn. Yes. You're on your journey, on your path. Go fail. Go make mistakes and learn from that.
Yes.
And my son will come to me and be like, Dad, I'm so sorry this happened. Oh, man. And I say, I'm not sorry. what did you learn? And he says, well, I learned this. Great. Now you're better off today than you were yesterday because now you have this knowledge. And I think for parents, sometimes we're like, I can't let my kids fall down and scrape their knee because what if and what if? Let them fall down and scrape their knee. That's the best thing that could happen to them because then they're going to learn to understand what they need to do to not be falling down and scraping their knee in that place again.
100%. And I want two things, the parents to hear what you're saying, because when you do that, you are opening your heart and opening their heart. Okay, it's safe for me to come and tell my dad, I just screwed up. It's safe for me. And you're not setting them up to want to hide or whatever, because they're annihilated when they come and they share something with you, which is great. And because I know you love me, I appreciate you teaching me that dirty B word. And you're so right. Thank you. That's like my golden treasure from this. So
I love it.
That for me. No, seriously, because I'm the person that says words are creative containers of energy. I mean, how did God create the world? He spoke, let there be light. There was light. We speak and they have a frequency. So when you say that to me, ooh, that was an instant paradigm shift for me. So thank you.
I love it. I love it. And it always is. It always is. Whoever's in the audience is like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing it in a new way. I didn't think of it like that.
So good. I never thought of it like that. So thank you. Because that was like my, I have a few pages of notes, of course.
I love it. I love it.
And I know we only have a few minutes. What are the last things that you want to share today? We've got like 3 minutes, I think, or 2.
Yeah. So I think parents, if there's something that resonated with you today, that you're thinking my kids, definitely could use some extra support. I could use some extra support. I'm going to encourage you to reach out to Cindy or I so that we can support you in this, because you're not alone, right? I have made a gazillion mistakes as a father. My wife, the same, whether she admits it or not. And we know that as we're working with our own kids, it's these pin drops on our journey of life together with them, and teaching them to be courageous, to be bold, to not stand on the sidelines, but to play full out in life. And if you make a mistake, it's a learning opportunity and it's an experience. Yes. And you now, and I just said this to my son not too long ago, I said, you now are not going to ever make this mistake again, are you? Because you have felt the sting of this result. And he was like, yeah, I'm never going to do that again. That is all I could ask for as a dad.
Yes. Yes. And thank you. And I want to thank you again for just the honor of you being on my show. I'm so excited that you were here. I can't wait to watch it again, and I appreciate that. I want to thank also the Spanglish Radio Network, because we can also be heard there. Please check it out, http://spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Again, you can find Eric at energeticlifenow.com and through VNewsInspires.com. And of course, you can find me on createyourvictoriouslife.com. One more question, as I always leave you with this: what do you have to believe to create your victorious life? We want to thank you. And I just loved it. I loved being here today. And thank you so much for joining us. Bye. Now you can stand and